Hello, my name is Brad Carlin, and this is my methods presentation, therapeutic group singing of Taize songs for persons with dementia and their family caregivers. So I'll start with the clinical aspects related to our population of choice, and then I'll review some of the relevant clinical and methodological research literature, talk about strengths and limitations of the procedure, give some contraindications. Then I'll give an overview of Taize singing and its history. I'll talk about my approach for live facilitation. Then I'm going to give three example songs that I would try in the live facilitation. The first is a chant or breath prayer. The second is a Taize hymn. And the third is really an American prayer song in the folk tradition that is similar to Taize, but is a little bit different, might be a little more familiar to folks in my population. So we've read about the 5 benefits of spirituality. Spiritual people have more grace, compassion, savor life experiences, and generally flourish and self-actualize more than non-spiritual people do. Spiritualism isn't something that you can fake just to get those benefits, but if you can get in touch with your spiritual self, then these benefits may well accrue to you. Persons with dementia and their family caregivers are often familiar with traditional religiosity and prayer. Many have a history of daily prayer, and many are familiar with traditional Christian music, including hymns and songs often associated with prayer, such as Sweet Hour of Prayer, being an obvious choice, but you can think of many others. They often struggle to find meaning in their current life experiences. PWDs can feel disconnected and irrelevant. FCGs can lose their sense of self as they struggle with role engulfment, this incredible pressure they feel to care for their PWD and lose their sense of self in the process. Prayer is a way to promote meaning in one's life, and as well as a feeling of connection to both higher power and the greater community of souls. So it's an obvious thing to maybe suggest for this group. And music can, of course, deliver wow moments that promote feelings of newness and growth. Wow moments is the subject that was discussed in Annie Lamott's book that I reviewed for my book review. So there's a lot of evidence that music therapy can enhance quality of life, providing the means for spiritual renewal and healing. A lot of references there. There's also ample published evidence that people who are in touch with their spiritual sides tend to have better physical and mental health, better sleep, lower blood pressure, and overall mortality. There's an article by Freeborn that talks about that. There's a lot of evidence of the benefits of choral singing for older adults. Amy Clements Cortez has a couple papers where she surveys literature and identifies the benefits of choral singing, which includes statistically significant improvements in pain perception, energy, mood, and that's true for both residents and their family caregivers. McDonald writes a paper that indicates commonalities between music therapy and community music, and notes that community choirs may offer older adults enjoyment, freedom of expression, and social support, with consequent benefits for self-confidence and self-esteem. Kreutz et al. Wrote an article that found that choral singing, it was of Mozart's Requiem in this case, may boost participant immune function, which they measured using secretory immunoglobulin A as their biomarker of that. And then there's a paper by Skingley et al. That talks about persons randomized to the control group in a study of choral singing actually experienced feelings of disappointment, which I thought was quite interesting. So people think that singing is likely to provide a benefit, and if they're not randomized to the singing group, they're disappointed about that. Annie wrote a nice paper about spirituality in the IR text, and notes that making music, singing, and chanting are ways of achieving a relaxing and meditative state, expressing gratitude, offering a prayer, and connecting with self, others, or a higher power. She encourages beginning with some deep breathing and then proceeding on to some group toning or some singing or some drumming, perhaps with the meditative music being at least partly composed by the group, which is a bit of a stretch maybe for this group, but it's, I think, something worth considering. With this group, some combination of these ideas and working with instruments like tone bars or chimes or an ocean drum, or maybe other pitched or unpitched percussion instruments could be well within the FCG's capabilities, I think, and could certainly lead to a deeply relaxed meditative state. Strengths and limitations of therapeutic group singing. Well, the strengths certainly, it's been shown to be able to slow cognitive decline in the elderly by improving brain plasticity. Wan and Schlag wrote a paper on this subject and found that the protective effect of playing music was actually stronger than those of other cognitive activities, including reading, writing, and doing crossword puzzles, which we're all told can improve one's cognitive state when we get older. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Music is actually better for you in terms of keeping your brain evolving than doing a crossword puzzle. Working in the context of a group provides opportunities for teamwork, shared experiences, and it also fosters trust, respect, and letting others in. So there's a lot of benefits to being involved in a group singing at this age. What about limitations? Well, I suppose the intervention could be frustrating for people who have more severe dementia or who are uncomfortable attempting unfamiliar songs. Some of the songs I'll be recommending here are not things that they would already know. It does require some basic degree of group cohesion. If your group is antagonistic towards each other, this may not work. And some clients may tend to become anxious or overstimulated. In her long review paper, Young notes that therapeutic group singing is generally indicated for individuals with mild to moderate dementia who enjoy singing or playing instruments or conducting, as some of my folks do, and who thrive in social settings. So that's the good news. The contraindications then are for persons who may become overstimulated by the experience, who may respond more positively in small group or individual context rather than group context, who don't enjoy the styles or genres of music that are being utilized. We all know that's important, right? Preferred music is crucial. Or persons who have difficulties with focus, concentration, or orientation. And so to that end, assessment during the session should probably include noticing clients that are not participating in the activity or who have trouble maintaining their focus on the activity. And for those clients, the music therapist may wish to provide some one-on-one attention, maybe some verbal cues, some questions, or some choices, something to help them stay focused and contribute to the effort. So let me talk a little bit about Taize music then, for those who haven't seen this before. Taize is a chant-like prayerful form of music that's known for its simple yet rich and meditative structure. There's a lovely article I found by Barani on this subject. Taize music often involves an ostinato, a simple melody that repeats over and over again, and that's meant to serve as a kind of musical centering prayer. So the whole point here is to combine music and prayer. The simplicity is appropriate for FCGs, and it's certainly in the spirit of keeping prayer simple, which again was a primary focus of Annie Lamott's book that I talked about a little while ago. Taize music is named for a region of France, a city actually called Taize. The community was founded by a monk whose name is Brother Roger Schutz. It's a monastic community founded in reaction to World War II in 1940. Brother Schutz saw the refugees coming out of Poland and wanted to do something to help. He's actually a Swiss man, but he moved to France because Switzerland was neutral in World War II, and he wanted to be an activist participant in trying to make things better for these refugees that were coming in. It's an ecumenical community. That is, it's a pan-spiritual community. It's strongly focused, I think, on Christianity, but it's not restricted to Christianity. And so the idea is that music plays a big role in both the prayer and the hospitality that the community offers. Again, this music may be less familiar to Midwestern PWDs, which is my target population here, but most of the songs are simple, they're slow, they're repetitive, and they're relaxing. So I think they should be learnable by the population. And I'll talk about that a little bit in the next couple of slides. The goal of the work is to experiment with the use of Taize with my regular Thursday morning religiously focused therapeutic group singing session with my memory care friends at the Willows, which is in the Edina Memory Care Center where I play frequently. The work has similar goals to that of the paper by MUS, who actually studied how TGS singers experience the spiritual or the transcendent as they're singing. And I want to mention that all my music examples today are going to be taken from a book called The Faith We Sing. It again is an ecumenical collection of hymns, but it is the official United Methodist Hymnal Supplement. Was published edited by a guy named Hickman about 20 years ago. So here's my approach for live facilitation. I'm going to be attempting chanting and singing in breath prayer using a variety of Taize songs. I'm on Zoom today, so you only be able to hear me, unfortunately. But I hope to provide some idea of how this might work with my folks. The steps that I'll follow are as follows. I'll first invite the participants to get into a comfortable position, and then we'll do some breathing. We'll begin to take some slow, deep breaths together. And ask them to make each inhalation long and slow and as deep as possible. Invite them to try to breathe a little deeper with each inhalation and exhale as slowly as possible. And so once we've established a calm mood, then I'll begin the Taize chanting or the singing. Following each song, I plan to allow time to talk about how it felt to sing together and ask if the participants have any thoughts or feelings or observations to share about the songs or about the experience. If this works well, one could certainly try some adaptations. I think adding, as I said before, pitched or unpitched percussion instruments may be a fun thing to try. It would be nice to try at certain times of the year to try certain songs designed to pick up on themes of interest at that time. For example, around Thanksgiving, you might naturally choose songs that are focused on thanks. And you might even try to add some imaging or some mandala drawing to the experience at the end to see if that was something that could also be of benefit to this population. So this is the first example. This is called Veni Sancti Spiritus. This is a very, very, very simple song. This is the entirety of the song you're seeing right here. It's a 2-bar song. Jacques Berthier's name is associated with much of the Taize literature. He was the guy that was actually invited by the monks to begin to write some of these songs back in the 1950s. And he did write quite a lot of the canon in this group. This is really just a slightly evolved version of toning. I would probably demo all the parts of the song. You can see there's 4 parts here. The basses are just staying on the A, the pedal tone, and then the other 3 parts are moving. I would probably demo the parts, but switch and encourage people to sing any part that's comfortable for them. And I'm going to try to show you this. I've got my piano here. So it just goes like this. Veni Sancte Spiritus, Veni Sancte Spiritus, Veni Sancte Spiritus, Veni Sancte Spiritus, and so on. This can just go on and on and on. If this were a church service, you'd probably put some sort of decoration on the top, a cantor singing a pretty line on top. But this wouldn't be the point here. This would just be a chant, it'd just be a breath prayer. It's repetitive and it's soothing and hopefully ideal for creating this sort of state that we're looking for. Here's the next example. This is called Come and Fill Our Hearts. The chords are more of them now. There's now 8 bars of material here, but it's still a repetitive phrase. It's only these 8 bars. The guitar chords are straightforward. I'll play it on piano again, but I could probably manage this one on guitar because all the chords are pretty simple. Again, I would just try to teach it by rote and invite them to sing really any part that is comfortable to them. Again, the bass part is not moving much. It's just following the bass line of the chord changes. So it's relatively easy. The lyrics are in both English and in Latin, as you can see. And I probably would not attempt the Latin with this group. I think I would probably stick with the English lyrics. The phrase you can see here, it's a repeated phrase. The first and the third phrases are the same. So let's see if I can get my pedal's not working, but I'll just play smoothly here. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. You alone, O Lord, are holy. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. Hallelujah. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. You alone, O Lord, are holy. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. Hallelujah. And so on. We could go any length with this that was comfortable. It's just a beautiful sort of spiritual flowing song. Feels like a lullaby, rocks rather gently, and hopefully that would create the mood and the prayerful attitude that we're looking for here. I've got one more for you today, and this is actually not a Taize song per se. It's actually just a prayer song, but its structure struck me as being really, really similar to the one I just played. Actually, it's another 4-phrase song. This is 16 bars instead of 8, but it's really just 4 phrases. And in fact, you'll see again, the first and the third phrases are the same. So it has almost the same structure as the one we just did. I have actually done this one with my group before, and it's gone reasonably well. The last line is a little tricky to remember. Send us love, send us power, send us grace. And I sometimes have to practice love, power, grace with the group a couple times, because again, this one isn't super familiar to them. But let me see if I can try it for you here. It goes like this. Lord, listen to your children praying. Lord, send your spirit in this place. Lord, listen to your children praying. Send us love, send us power, send us grace. Lord, listen to your children praying. Lord, send your spirit in this place. Lord, listen to your children praying. Send us love, send us power, send us praise. Again, that could just be done as long as is needed to generate the feel that we're looking for. Might be a little bit more familiar for folks. The style is a little bit more familiar. Sounds like a traditional sort of gospel hymn, but in the same sort of slow and repetitive to say tradition with some of the repeated lyrics there. So that's the end of my presentation. I've got a long reference list here that I can just leave on the screen a little bit. I'll flash this just a little bit for you in case you're watching this later and you would like to write down some of these references. I think it's a really promising idea, and look forward to trying it with my group. So thank you for your attention.